comes this budget, earlier budget. What about the opinion of the other organization? INDUC, which is affiliated to Congress, they were criticizing the UPA budget. The BMS, which have some ideological relationship with the BJP, they are criticizing the budget presented by Jetli. Sir, actually, Amar Sitaram Yechury, while participating in the debate on presidential address, correctly stated that BJP has taken the baton in this relay from Congress. Now they are running as fast as they can to give more concession to the corporate and give more sufferings to the common people of this country, sir. That is the reality. Sir, actually this chinks the concept of democracy. In democracy, in the elections, the people, the voters vote for a candidate, the candidate representing a political party represents an ideology and policies, sir. Now, we are electing to this side or that side. Both of them are actually reflecting, focusing the same policies, sir. This is the status of democracy in this our country, sir. Sir, but I want to add one more thing. Actually, Naresh ji already mentioned that. Jetli ji tried to add some saffron cosmetics to UPA budget. Economic Times correctly gave a good title, Chidambaram budget with saffron lipstick. That we have seen on this budget, Chidambaram budget with saffron lipstick, sir. Sir, in a macro analysis, the government policies are only contributing to deepen the economic crisis in our country. You are focusing for exports. The global meltdown is continuing. So the international market is shrinking. Then what about the domestic market? The purchasing power of the majority of the people is declining. That is true. The income of the super rich has been increased drastically. But they could not purchase themselves all these things. Then they are focusing for speculative trade, currency trade, or stock market, or real estate. Then this leads to deepen the economic crisis in our country, sir. Sir, the Prime Minister and other ministers are always talking about Chinese model. Anand Sharma ji mentioned that not bullet train, stimulus package. What was their stimulus package? They are giving more concessions to the corporate. But what is the experience in China model? They pump more funds. They had increased the public funding to infrastructure. But you are continuing the same fiscal policy. Jetli ji also trying to continue the same fiscal policy. There is fiscal deficit mantra. I am totally against that. That is to revenue deficit. We should control that. But what about fiscal deficit? If we are using money for infrastructure projects, it would create more employment. The people would get more money. They would purchase more things. They will go to the market. Then the demand would increase. Then the production should be increased. It would create more jobs. Then people would get more money. Then this would give more momentum to the economics, that is the dynamics of the economics. But instead of that, you are sticking on the fiscal deficit mantra and give more concession to the corporates, then this would not help our country. You are following the failed tituras of world financial institutions, sir. So while the finance minister was talking about the fiscal deficit, he was concerned only on the expenditure side. The earlier finance ministers, they were also concentrate on only on the expenditure side, cutting subsidies, cutting expenditure. How the last UPA government did control the fiscal deficit? They had managed it by serious expenditure cuts. While we are going through the budget estimate and the revised estimate and the actual expenditure, sir, we could find out big differences. Fiscal consolidation should be effected through contraction of public expenditure and not by increasing revenues. What is the present status of revenue component? As per the answer given by the former minister, finance minister, in this house, the uncollected tax amounts more than rupees 5.10 lakh crores. This is as same as the physical deficit of our country. Sir, if you could have collected this tax arrears, then there is no physical deficit. Using this physical deficit issue, you are going to cut subsidies, you are going to cut expenditure. If you could have collected the tax arrears only, then there is no physical deficit, sir. Out of this uncollected tax, more than rupees 75,000 crores are undisputed tax. No dispute on it. That is true. Now the minister decided to formulate some mechanism for clearing all this case. That is good move. But out of this, rupees 75,000 crores are undisputed tax, sir. Sir, Prime Minister and Finance Minister are always talking about tax terrorism. Anand Sharma mentioned about tax terrorism. I want to know, what is the definition of tax terrorism? What is your perspective on tax terrorism? What it means? Sir, I am totally against this application of this way. Not their way. The tax GDP ratio in our country is around only 10%. The tax GDP ratio in England is 26.9%. Norway, it is 27.3%. In Denmark, 34.1%. Belgium, it is 25.7%. If we can increase 1% of this, then the exchequer would get more than 1.25 lakh crores. That means if we can change our tax GDP ratio at par with England, then our exchequer would get additional tax revenue of around 20 lakh crores. If we can our tax GDP ratio at par with Norway, then we would get additional 30 lakh crore rupees as our revenue, sir. Is it tax terrorism? Then another statement, it is in public domain, in the budget documents itself. Out of 6,18,806 companies which have submitted tax returns, 2,84,69 had not paid single paisa as taxes. Despite statutory tax ratio of 30%, companies that made a profit greater than rupees 500 crore at effective tax rate ETR is only 20.97%. Is it tax terrorism? Sir, online trading. If you want something, you are going to net Amazon or Flipkart. Are you charging any tax for that? Sir, the property tax, which includes wealth tax, immovable property tax, estate, inheritance and gift tax. Jetli, this property tax constitute only 0.40 of the total tax revenue. BRICS countries. Nirmala ji recently went to attend the BRICS summit. In BRICS countries, this average is 4.85%. G20 average is 7.6%. Is it tax terrorism, sir? Following Mr. Chidambaram, Jetli ji also not ready to...
Mr. Rajiv, former citizen. Rajiv, sit down.
Guillotine in the Lok Sabha. So all cabinet ministers will have to be there. Either if the honorable members agree, I will go there, Najma ji will go there. So my colleague Mrs. Sitaraman will be here.
Yeah.
So if the opposition...
Okay.
Cabinet minister should
so that the proceedings are not disturbed. So for about 10-15 minutes we will be without a cabinet minister here.
That is okay.
But that is not the president, sir.
No, it is, listen. You understand, MOS will be here. MOS.
Any at least one cabinet minister. At least one cabinet minister should be
but in the Lok Sabha, we can ask Najma ji to be here.
MOS. Pardon?
Doesn't have to vote.
No, but if there is a cut motion,
in relation to her ministry.
She has to. Now the problem is
if there is a cut motion in relation to her ministry and she is not present.
I will explain. The problem is, if there is, you should understand, you are in government. If there is a cut motion, if there is a cut motion, then from the concerned minister has to be there.
Yes, sir.
So therefore, I hope you will agree that MOS will be here for about 15 minutes, 20 minutes. That kindly, it was there. Okay. Okay, all right. You both can go. Yeah.
Thank you,
okay,
I am
okay.
grateful, sir.
Okay. Now please continue.
Actually, I am going to the main points.
Okay, no problem. It will be recorded.
Okay, sir.
Mr. Sridharaman is a very efficient minister.
Yes,
She will
very
take note.
dynamic minister.
Yeah, dynamic.
But sir, now Anand Sharma ji mentioned about the retrospective taxation. I was surprised. I am surprised, sir. At Mr. Pranab Mukherjee, the then finance minister, our honorable president of India, at that time,
Stick to the time.
we both houses passed the finance bill along with the clause for retrospective taxation. But Mr. Chidambaram had taken the charge of finance minister. He had constituted a single man committee. Both houses passes a finance bill with that clause, retrospective taxation, but minister appointed a single man, Parthasarathi Shaw, on the recommendation of a single man committee. They overruled the decision of this parliament. Both houses. I think Anand Sharma ji also remembering that, you are mention of God. Chidambaram overruled the decision through you, sir.
So, there are two speakers, so, just adjust,
18%. I know it,
because
I know it.
there is no problem. He's coming back. बात हो गई, आप यहाँ थे नहीं,
में दम करते थे,
ऐसा
हमें
है।
बुला के कैबिनेट से लाना
अभी
पड़ता था।
आप नहीं थे जब बात हो गई
एलयू
है।
वाले हैं जी, पूछिए समुद्र वाले हमारा समर्थन करेंगे।
हाउस ने
एलयू वाले हैं जी हमारे, ये बात इसमें हो ही नहीं सकता, परमिशन नहीं हो सकती इसमें।
2 minutes I lost.
नहीं, आप 2-3 मिनट, बट आपका सेकंड वाले का भी ध्यान रखना, आपके दो
No,
स्पीकर।
because of these issues, I lost 2 minutes.
या कैरी ऑन प्लीज, कैरी ऑन।
Sir, in UK had already implemented retrospective taxation in 2008, dating back to 1987. If they can, why cannot we? Now, Mr. Jetli ji also not ready to implement this retrospective taxation. Then, sir, how can you blame this as a tax terrorism?
राजीव जी,
Actually, by coining this term, the government is trying to give more concession to the corporates. A corporate whale in this country has on average received rupees 7 crore every hour or rupees 168 crore every day in write-offs of just corporate income tax duty, sir. This is the status of revenue foregone in our country. This is in your budget documents. As per this budget document, the provisional write-off for the corporate need is 5,72,922 crores, sir. This is higher than your fiscal deficit. If you are combining this for the last 9 years, it is 36.5 lakh crores, that is 36.5 trillion rupees, sir. In gold and other jewelry, the customs duty write-off, if you have taken the 36 months figure, it is 1.67 lakh crores, sir. This is the write-off on corporate customs duty for gold and diamond and jewelry, sir. Sir, while answering to my question, revenue foregone in this house, Honorable Minister stated that all these incentives are for creating employment and for boosting economy. Sir, giving all these concessions, corporate share of GDP had improved only by 5% in 20 years as 15%, sir. Sir, after 1991, all governments are favoring FDI and corporate. We, the left, have a consistent position in this regard, sir. At times, we have been mocked by you. Yes, you can ignore our concerns, but what about your own ideologue? I hope that Jetli is not here, but Nirmala ji would have read the article, 2 articles read by your own ideologue Gurumurthy in New Indian Express. As per Mr. Gurumurthy's analysis, after giving not our own opinion, your own ideologue, after giving all this concession and big credit from banks, all this equal to more than 47.6 lakh crores, these FDI and corporate have created just 2.2 million jobs in 20 years since 1991. This is Guru Murthy's analysis, sir. 2 decades before 1991. Without giving any concessions, private sector corporates added 2.7 million jobs and public corporate sector added 12 million jobs. That was 5 times of the annual growth rate in the corporate sector in the post-reform period, sir. This is the reality. This is your own analysis. Guru Murthy's argument, sir. Sir, on the other side, Indian corporates now constitute a fifth of world billionaires with a tally of 70, none in 1991. After explaining all this, Jaitley ji or Nirmala ji, your friend and ideologue, Guru Murthy asked that, will general budget look beyond corporate sector? But sir, this budget is intended to protect the interest of the corporate. No, I am interested to take 18 minutes. I lost 2 minutes, then 20 minutes I will.
Now 2 minutes? Now 2 more minutes?
20 minutes.
No, 2 minutes more.
No, 18 minutes for me and 8 minutes the other speaker. Then I already lost 2 minutes, then 20 minutes, then 5 minutes more. Sir, this budget is proposed to follow more FDI in different sectors. Since 1991, all finance ministers are trying to attract FDI. What is the reality? 44% of the FDI is come from a small country, Mauritius. 44%. Only 7% from USA. Less than 10% from Europe. And what is the reason for this? That is double taxation avoidance treaty. Are you ready to revisit the double taxation avoidance treaty with Mauritius and Singapore and other countries? That is my question, sir. This will be by allowing 49% FDI in defense sector. Foreign companies are getting a controlling stake in the defense production enterprises. They will be determined to national sovereignty, sir. Sir, intensifying inequalities. Already our learned colleague already mentioned that. National Sample Survey report. The monthly per capita consumption of the top 5% is nearly 9 times than the bottom 5%. This varies in the urban areas, where the average consumption by the top 5% of the population was about 14.7 times that of the bottom 5%. As per the UN report, the top 10% owns 53% of the country's wealth, while the bottom 10% have only 0.2% of the wealth, sir. This is the reality, sir. But we could not find anything to address this issue to reduce the inequality, sir. Sir, inequality is against the concept of growth. If the income of the majority is skewed to feed rich minority, how can they contribute to the growth process, sir? I hope the finance minister would have, Nirmala ji also would have read the classic book recently published, Capital in 21st Century by Thomas Piketty. It's a wonderful book. Piketty is not a Marxist. He is a Keynesian economist. He correctly reveals the inequality exists in the globalist world, and I request the minister to read that and try to address this issue, sir. Sir, total subsidy in the share of the total union budget was 17.71% in 2012-13 has declined to 14.5%, sir. Sir, we continuously demanding to revisit the pricing policies of petroleum. As per the CAG report, the present pricing mechanism benefit rupees 50,513 crore to the oil companies during the 5-year 2007 to 2012, sir. Sir, I would not like to go details. Agriculture sector, it is the BJP's manifesto is there. Cheaper agriculture inputs, strengthen and expand rural credit, welfare measures for farmers above 60 years in age. Nothing could find out in this budget speech, sir. And education and health, that is the most neglected area in this budget, sir. So, and PSU, we are strongly opposing the proposal to disinvestment in the PSUs. The PSUs have a cash reserve of more than 6.5 lakh crore rupees, sir. The people of India is struggling due to the hike in price of essential commodities. Sir, education and healthcare expenditure are also drastically increasing. But this budget is failed to address this issue. They are following the same anti-people policies of the last UPA government. This budget is clearly shows that this government of the corporate, by the corporate and for the corporate. Thank you, sir.
Shri A.U. Singh Dev.
One speech.
Maiden speech, how long will you take? Sing, sir.
Maybe 15
10
minutes.
minutes?
15 minutes.
15 minutes? Fine.
Should be all.
Fine.
Honorable Vice Chairman, sir, the present budget laid down by the respectable Finance Minister aims to revive the growth and curb its expenditure and borrowing. It points to the right direction, upholding the fiscal deficit of 4.1% inherited from the previous government. The budget outlines the fiscal deficit in the upcoming 2 financial years of 3.6% for 2015-16 and 3% for 2016-17. So the intent of the budget is definitely noble. However, what it lacks is suitable growth orientation. It continues with some of the policies of the past government. It has not brought inadequate structural reforms. After the pitiable state of the economy in the recent past, and overall of existing government policies is to be replaced with innovative, concise policies is what this country requires. Keeping in mind the Honourable Minister's proficiency and competence, I would have expected the budget to be more focused and reform and growth oriented. However, no major structural reforms conducive to existing situations seem to have been brought in. While it portrays a framework, what it does not reflect is the exact implementation method for the same. While I believe it is an ambitious effort, I would think it to be a baby step towards the much needed larger goal of fiscal consolidation. But then, sir, road wasn't built in a day, and we must give our competent finance minister more time. Under the current budget, to obtain the fiscal deficit of 4.1%, 3 things are of the utmost importance: to curb, maintain, or even reduce the inflation rate in the country, to ensure the expected expenditure does not exceed the estimate, and the revenue is as per the estimate. A lot of reliance here is on the government's ability to collect taxes, ensuring timely and honest payment by taxpayers, and correct the tax evasion scams that have been happening in the past. It is a daunting task. So इसमें एक उदाहरण देना चाहूँगा मैं. उदाहरण ये है कि फाइनेंशियल ईयर 2011-2012 में अगर हम बजट को कंपेयर करें, एस्टिमेट को कंपेयर करें एक्चुअल के साथ में, आप देखेंगे क्या समस्या हमारे सामने आ सकती है. Tax revenue collected was 5.22% lesser than the budget estimate. That means 34,629 crores. Borrowing saw a substantial increase of 25% as compared to the budget estimate. The difference is 1,31,073 crores. Expenditure increased by 3.71%. Sir, as this happened, the fiscal deficit in the year increased to 5.7%, significantly higher than the estimated budget of 4.6% as shown in the budget. तो ये गुस्ताखी इस बजट में ना हो, इसका मंत्री जी ध्यान रखें. एक और कंसर्न है सर कि हम देखते आ रहे हैं कि डॉलर की अगेंस्ट द डॉलर रुपये की वैल्यू कम होती चली जा रही है. ये हमारे रिसोर्सेज पे ड्रेन है. हम बहुत ऑयल इंपोर्ट करते हैं विदेश से, इसलिए हर दिन पेट्रोल, डीजल और चीज़ों के दाम बढ़ते हैं. अगर पेट्रोल और डीजल का दाम बढ़ा तो मार्केट में हर चीज़ का दाम बढ़ जाता है. इसे हमें कंट्रोल करने की ज़रूरत है, और इसे अगर हम अपने इम्प्लीमेंटेशन ठीक रखेंगे बजट का तो ये कार्य हो सकता है. सर, फाइनेंस मंत्री ने 29 स्कीम्स में 100 करोड़ दिया है ईच स्कीम को. ये बड़ा लिबरल अलोकेशन है और इसको हम सम्मान देते हैं. While this is commendable, one of the biggest problems glaring the country in the face of reality is that of women's safety. Crimes against women are highly on the rise. The reporting on incidences of rape, not to mention other offences of immoral trafficking, incestuous acts, dowry deaths have increased by 35% in 1 year. However, the finance minister in his budget has made a meager allocation of 150 crores on a scheme to increase the safety of women in larger cities. As I understand, this word larger cities has been used. While I understand finance minister's stance of various allocations of being made on pilot basis, considering the vast population of women in the country, I would like to ask, ये 150 करोड़ काफी है women safety के लिए? Is the safety of women negotiable? सर, एक स्टैच्यू के लिए, वल्लभ भाई पटेल जी की स्टैच्यू के लिए, जिनको हम सब सम्मान देते हैं, गुजरात में 200 करोड़ दिया गया है. उससे कम दिया गया है विमेन सेफ्टी के लिए और उससे और खाली दिया गया है इन लार्जर सिटीज. क्या छोटे सिटीज में लेडीज नहीं होती? उनको क्यों छोड़ दिया गया? जो गंभीर समस्याएं होती हैं लार्जर सिटीज में, वो छोटे सिटीज में भी होती हैं. उन्हें किस लिए छोड़ा गया, इसका हम उत्तर चाहेंगे फाइनेंस मंत्री जी से. क्या रैशनल है इसका, वो बताएं. The ruling manifesto speaks of importance of schemes for education and health and drinking water. प्रधानमंत्री जी के कैंपेन में प्रधानमंत्री जी ने बहुत प्रॉमिसेस की थी कि प्रोविजन ऑफ सैनिटेशन फैसिलिटीज फॉर विमेन हम करेंगे, हर घर में बाथरूम्स लगेंगे, हर स्कूल में बाथरूम्स होंगे. पर ये चीज पूरी हो नहीं सकती क्योंकि फाइनेंस मंत्री जी ने इसमें एक इनिशियल टोकन बजट दिया गया है. निर्मल भारत अभियान एक रूरल सैनिटेशन स्कीम है, उसमें 4,260 करोड़ दिया है पूरे भारत के लिए, यूनियन टेरिटरीज के लिए. मैं समझता हूं ये पैसा बहुत कम है, इसको बढ़ाना चाहिए, इससे समस्या का समाधान नहीं होगा. सरकार चाहती है 219 तक ये काम, सैनिटेशन का काम हम पूरे देश में दे दें, कर सकेंगे. मैं समझता हूं कि इतनी देर हमें करनी नहीं चाहिए, इसको हमको आगे लाने की कोशिश करनी चाहिए. और एक चीज मैं जानना चाहूंगा कि सर्व शिक्षा अभियान और राष्ट्रीय माध्यमिक शिक्षा अभियान, are they inclusive of the drinking water and sanitation facilities that the PM has promised? Will there be a redressal mechanism in place for those aggrieved due to lack of these facilities? With a history of corruption and instances of money flowing into the pockets of undeserving and dishonest, I hope the government will have in place an airtight mechanism to check finance allocated. The central government in its budget allocates funds to the states under various schemes to be released to the states in a timely, adequate and responsible manner. During recent years, however, the central government has been resorting to sizable plan cuts, which adversely impact the physical health of states and implementation of the schemes. So, under Accelerated Irrigation Benefit Program, the state of Odisha, for instance, received only 38 crores against its actual expenditure of 1,084 crores. Itna kata sa. During 2012-13. Again, the state received only 15 crores during 2013-14 against its actual expenditure of 967 crores. Under Manrega 2, the state received only 757 crores against the central approved share of 1,360 crores during 2013-14. the state's physical condition and the implementation of the ongoing socio-economic development program gets adversely affected. से एक बात मैं फाइनेंस मंत्री जी की तारीफ करूंगा कि वो बहुत दिनों के बाद रिविजन ऑफ मिनरल रॉयल्टी पे आ गए। ये जो स्टेट्स हैं उड़ीसा, झारखंड, छत्तीसगढ़, जो रिलेटिवली रिच इन मिनरल वेल्थ हैं, बहुत दिनों से हम मांग कर रहे हैं कि हमारी ये रिविजन ऑफ मिनरल रॉयल्टी हो। सर आप जान के हैरान होंगे कि उड़ीसा में अगस्त 2012 से 5 करोड़ पर डे का लॉस हो रहा है क्योंकि मिनरल रॉयल्टी की इंक्रीज नहीं करी गई। इसे इंक्रीज करना बड़ा जरूरी है। हम धन्यवाद देंगे फाइनेंस मंत्री को कि इस चीज को सामने वो ले आए। सर एक और चीज है, कुछ बड़े लोग हैं, माइनर्स हैं उड़ीसा में, जिनके पास हजारों माइंस, दे कंट्रोल मेनी माइंस इन द स्टेट ऑफ उड़ीसा। तो हमारी सरकार बहुत दिन से मांग कर रही है सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट से कि हमें परमिशन दिया जाए या सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट चार्ज करे एक मिनरल रिसोर्स रेंट टैक्स। जो इनकी इनकम हजारों करोड़ में है, तो जो एक लेवल के ऊपर हैं, उनको एक स्पेशल टैक्स लगाने की मांग उड़ीसा सरकार बहुत दिनों से कर रही है। और इसमें ये गुजारिश है हमारी फाइनेंस मंत्री जी को कि इस पर ध्यान दें। इट मे बी इज नॉट उड़ीसा स्पेसिफिक, इट मे बी ऑल्सो रिक्वायर्ड इन झारखंड एंड छत्तीसगढ़। यू माइट इंक्वायर द मैटर एंड मेक अ प्रिंसिपल रूल ऑन द इश्यू। सर एक चीज है कि हमारे इस पक्ष से भी किसी बंधु ने कहा था बात करते करते कि नवक्लेवर का फेस्टिवल फंक्शन आ रहा है उड़ीसा में 2015 में। कम से कम 50 लोग 50 लाख पीपल कम फ्रॉम द आउटसाइड एंड दे विजिट उड़ीसा इन दिस मैनर। सर वी हैव द गवर्नमेंट हैज रिक्वेस्टेड फॉर 1397 crores to augment this festival, and we request the finance minister to look into the matter because a request has been made from May 2013 onwards. थोड़ा इसको देखें, ये हमारे देश की एक शान है। एक बहुत विदेशी आते हैं और एक टूरिज्म की तरफ से ये 30 लाख 40 लाख आदमी आते हैं, इनको रखना मुश्किल होता है। से एक और चीज हम मांगते आ रहे हैं उड़ीसा से, एक स्पेशल कैटेगरी स्टेट। हम लोग गरीब हैं, हम लोग काफी लोग वहाँ बिलो द पॉवर्टी लाइन हैं, इसलिए स्पेशल कैटेगरी स्टेट हमें मिलना चाहिए। और उसका एक ही आंकड़ा हमारे साथ लगता नहीं है जो उसको क्वालिफाई करे कि हमारे बाउंड्रीज में विदेश की कोई बाउंड्री लगी नहीं है। एक ही चीज जो माइनस है जिसके लिए हमें अभी तक मिला नहीं है। आई होप द ऑनरेबल मिनिस्टर एंड द गवर्नमेंट विल कंसिडर द मैटर दैट states like Bihar, states like Odisha should get this benefit of a special category state.
2 मिनट रह गए।
2 मिनट?
हाँ जल्दी चलो आगे बढ़ो क्विकली।
GST introduction of goods and service tax, which replaces all existing indirect taxes on goods and services with one single tax, thus lowering the tax budget. So the decision of the government to introduce and implement the GST will unify India's 29 states into a common market to boost revenue. At the same time, make it easier to do business. However, the budget fails to lay down a clear roadmap for implementation of GST, which would have been a welcome gesture. The union government had assured to compensate state governments for loss of revenue due to reduction of central sales tax
Last minute.
until the implementation of GST. Accordingly, the CST was reduced from 4% to 3%, 3% to 2%, 2007-2008. The state of Odisha received only 256 crores towards compensation against a loss assessment of 644 crores. ये सब चीजें चलती रहती हैं साहब, इसको सुधारने की जरूरत है। सर रेलवे का बजट हो चुका है एंड I would just touch on the subject, sir, that profit railways में बढ़ाना चाहिए, एक्सपेंसेस कम करनी चाहिए। However, the government seems to have taken the easy way out of increasing rates without any serious attempt to reduce costs by removing the inefficiency. सर 6% प्रॉफिट है हमारे इंडियन रेलवे, कनाडा में 40% प्रॉफिट है सर। तो हम खाली बढ़ाने की ना सोचें टिकटों को और हर चीज़ों को, हम अपने कॉस्ट रिडक्शन के ऊपर भी हमें ध्यान देना चाहिए, जो हम देते नहीं हैं। सर, एक फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर हैज एक्सप्रेस्ड द हेल्पलेसनेस over his inability to substantially cut rates or increase allocation to much needed social sectors because of lack of ability sources. से एक मैं एग्जांपल देना चाहूँगा डिफेंस का। उनके डिपार्टमेंट, उनके डिफेंस डिपार्टमेंट में under the garb of life cycle cost method, the Ministry of Defence has bought air defense platforms at almost 40-50% higher prices than the lower off the shelf bidder. This is because none of the other costs associated with LCC, such as supply of spare parts, fuel efficiency, technological amalgamation, are contractually binding in nature, thereby creating an excess spend of thousands of crores. सर, मैं अब आता हूँ, मुझे सर
2 मिनट और ले लीजिए आप आपके 15 मिनट आपने मांगे थे तो 15 मिनट दिए, आप 2 मिनट और लीजिए।
16
सर 5 मिनट
16 हो गए, चलो तो 16 हो गए।
Increase in FDI from 26 to 49 in defense and insurance sectors.
स्पीच भी है।
सर, कौन 49% लगाएगा? बाहर से आके कौन 49% लगाएगा हिंदुस्तान में और कंट्रोल दे देगा इंडियन कंपनी? ये होता नहीं, हो नहीं सकता। अगर कोई आके इन्वेस्ट करेगा तो उसको 49% लगाने के लिए उसको इंसेंटिव देना पड़ेगा, कॉन्ट्रैक्चुअल इंसेंटिव, फिजिकल एडवांटेजेस, तभी वो आएगा। अभी जो कंपनियां हैं जो इंडिया में बेचती हैं डिफेंस में, दे 100% ओन्ड बाय फॉरेनर्स। दे कम इनटू इंडिया and they sell in India and they make 100% profit. So why should he come and give you 49% when he owns the company 100% and making a profit of 100%? तो ये सोचने वाली बात है सर। सर, हम देख रहे हैं कि जो भी डेवलपमेंट होता है कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी स्पेसिफिक हो जाता है। जो सरकार आती है अंडर प्रेशर हो जाती है अपने पार्लियामेंट मेंबर से, एमएलए से, उस तरह डेवलपमेंट हो जाता है। आज बीजेपी सरकार है, कल उपा की सरकार थी, तो ये लोग डेवलपमेंट अपने तरफ करने लगे जाते हैं। हम फाइनेंस मंत्री जी से ये अनुरोध करेंगे कि ये प्रमोट एन इक्विटेबल सोसाइटी, इक्विटेबल डेवलपमेंट इन ऑल द कंट्री। सर, एक एरिया है कलाहांडी, बलांगीर, कोरापुट, सबसे केबीके एरिया, सबसे गरीब एरिया है। हम 10 साल से ऊपर सरकार से मांगते रह गए, कुछ नहीं मिला। अब हम मांग रहे हैं बीजेपी सरकार से कि हमें 10,000 करोड़ दिया जाए 5 साल में। इट्स द मोस्ट poorest region in the country. That's no doubt. I will invite the honorable minister to come and have a look at the place. एक खुर्दा बलांगीर रेलवे है जो कभी खत्म होने में नहीं आती, 17 साल से चल रही है सर। उसके लिए भी रिक्वेस्ट किया गया है, मात्र 100 करोड़ रुपए दिया गया है इस साल में।
Country would like to be assured that this kind of defense budget assures that kind of security in this kind of environment. So the increase in the defense budget is 12.4%. It's not much of an increase, almost it's peanuts. Chunk of it goes to increase in the salaries and pensions. Very limited is left for new expenditure. Rupees 5,000 crore have been provided for modernization, which is badly needed by the 3 services. We are to reach right up to African coast. They have got base south of Burma. They have facilities in Sri Lanka and the Indian Ocean. They are reaching otherwise also to Gwadar, which they have developed for Pakistan, basically for themselves also, and they are trying to avail facilities in Seychelles and eastern coast of Africa. So the threat to India's coastline, coast, been conducted into the naval accidents. Only 4 or 5 have come to some conclusions. All others are still on. I want to know how these inquiries in a vital area of importance should take that long. I think the government needs to look into it. Why Navy should take that long to finish its inquiries and take necessary steps. So there are many plans which have not yet been implemented. We did provide for another strike code for the eastern sector to meet the Chinese threat. There's a need for a second strike code for the western front. I don't think Parliament will shrug extra money for doing that kind of exercise because it takes about 5 years to develop a strike code. There are Naresh Chandra committee report recently is said to have recommended new commands to meet new kinds of threat. One is aerospace command. Another is cyber command. We face considerable threat from Chinese, and it can be some others also, to launch a cyber attack on our facilities, which can be dangerous, can immobilize our capabilities. Aerospace, cyber command, and third is, there was a proposal in the Naresh Chandra committee report, which has not yet been made public, but everybody knows about it. It's fairly open, that there should be a special command to counter terrorism. What it should do, how it should do, that we don't know, but there should be a separate command to counter terrorist threat coming from outside, which for us is a major threat. But there was a proposal over the years, no decision has been taken and calls for it, one way or the other. The Kargil Review Committee had recommended Chief of Defence Staff who could integrate the working of all the commands under him. Now that kind of proposal is urgent. Most of the countries have gone in for Joint Chief of the Time Factor. So the budget provides for 1,000 crore for one rank, one pension. It goes some way to meet the demand, but not all the way. I think it's better to be through with that problem, which has been hanging fire for a long time, and it affects large number of people who have retired, and they think they have been discriminated against getting the pensions. What else we need to do is a large list, but I won't take that time. Maybe if committees can take time, and maybe there is a regular defense debate is held, which is unlikely during the next couple of sessions. I don't find this session is providing for debate on Ministry of Defense. This allocation, which is there, needs to be relooked, and possibly some rearrangement can be made in the figures. Luckily, we have this budget is possibly valid for the next 8 months. Maybe the defense minister or the finance minister are working out on the 8-month time scale. But in November, if they come with a budget, November's winter session of Parliament, they should take care of the kind of threat, the kind of expenses we are going to incur, and we are not able to incur. By November budget, in case there is one, and I plead, this should be re-looked into, and let there be a budget, supplementary budget in the winter session of Parliament, and I'm sure Parliament will not deny the Defence Minister or the Finance Minister the funds required. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Mr. Naresh Gujarat.
Thank you, sir. I rise to support the motion and compliment the Honourable Finance Minister for presenting a balanced yet progressive budget under such adverse conditions. Please consider the legacy that he inherited. An economy which had totally lost steam, a manufacturing sector which was showing negative growth rate, double-digit food inflation, progressively high unemployment, tax terrorism, crony capitalism, misuse of agencies like CBI and IB for political sustenance, and a feeling of despondency all around. Hence, it was not surprising that the people of India gave an absolute majority to the BJP and NDA after 30 long years. Under these difficult circumstances, within 40 days of assuming office, Mr. Jaitley, with this budget, has pulled a rabbit out of the hat and deserves the nation's applause. So what impresses me most about this budget is the fact that he has increased the planned outlay by 26.9% and at the same time announced that an expenditure commission to suggest ways and means of cutting the government's flab, which was long overdue. So these steps would go a long way in pushing up the growth rate and controlling our fiscal deficit in the future. Sir, the previous finance minister, in order to show a healthy fiscal deficit, resorted to window dressing in a big way. He postponed subsidy expenses to the next financial year, stopped payment of duty drawbacks to the exporters. Income tax refunds were also stopped for many months, and he preponed income by making PSUs declare 500 to 600% dividends, thereby severely impacting their health and future growth. Nationalized banks were forced to lend lakhs of crores to some of the favored cronies, and all these loans have now turned to NPAs, seriously impairing the health of the entire financial system. All this left very little headroom for Mr. Jaitley to maneuver without causing an alarm in the financial markets. So Mr. Jaitley has wisely decided to recapitalize the nationalized banks in order to bring them at par with Basel III norms. He has announced that their equity will go up by 2.40 lakh crores in stages. He has further emphasized that the equity would be infused by retail investors, while at the same time the government shall keep control. The Honorable Finance Minister has made the PSU's role in growth very explicit by proposing that they would invest 2.47 lakh crores in order to create a virtuous investment cycle. Mr. Jaitley has allocated an amount of 37,800 crores for building highways and state roads so as to initiate development of expressways in parallel to development of industrial corridors. Rupees 5,000 crores have been allocated for warehousing to strengthen the infrastructure for scientific storage of food grains and perishables. In addition, an amount of 2,000 crores has been earmarked for food processing. This would certainly help contain the abnormal rise in prices of fruits and vegetables during non-produce season. After many years, attention has been given to the agriculture sector. The Finance Minister plans to finance 5 lakh landless farmers through NABARD. Adequate institutional finance has been provided for both long-term and short-term needs of our farmers through NABARD. In order to ensure that our farmers do not run to money lenders, he has also made provisions for their immediate needs. Irrigation too has received the FM's attention, as 2/3 of our agriculture is still rain-fed. He has proposed an initial 1,000 crores for creating the infrastructure for rural irrigation schemes. Sir, he has set aside rupees 10,000 crores for startups in the SME sector. Excise duties have been reduced to give impetus to manufacturing sector, apart from allowing manufacturing units to sell their products through e-commerce platforms. For greater participation of the SMEs, the investment allowance threshold is proposed to be reduced from 100 crores to 25 crores. In a major boost to urban development, the budgetary allocation has been raised by 133% from approximately 7,500 crores to over 7,600 crores. This includes more than 7,000 crores for 100 new smart cities. Our savings rate has been stagnant of late. By increasing the income tax exemptions, he is making sure that the man on the street not only has more money in his pocket to spend, but also the incentive to save. It is savings that convert to investment. Yet, our domestic savings rate is not high enough to meet our investment requirements. So wisely, the Honorable Finance Minister has made it easy for the FDIs to step up their investments in India. Threshold limits have been raised to 49% in defense and insurance and 100% in e-commerce. Sir, you would recall that till 2009, India was a favored destination for many global giants that were looking for an alternative to China. They wanted to set up manufacturing plants as well as back offices in India. However, the announcement of retrospective taxation, GAR, and the transfer pricing hassles startled the multinationals, and they started applying brakes on investments here. The Honorable Finance Minister sent a soothing message to the international community that there would be ease of doing business in India and that they would not be subjected to tax terrorism in future. India is one of the largest importers of defense equipment. For years, we have been happy to import bulk of our requirements, but have refused foreign companies a chance to set up manufacturing as well as assembly plants in India. So personally, I wish this limit had been raised to 51%, for only then serious transfer of technology would take place. However, the FM, who is also the Defense Minister, has perhaps decided to tread cautiously into this uncharted territory. By strengthening and empowering the Income Tax Settlement Commission, the Honorable Finance Minister is giving a chance to our businessmen to come clean and for the government to mop up the much required revenue from the approximately 4.91 lakh crores stuck up in disputes. The Kisan Vikas Patras will help channelize money to the economy, which so far was going for the accumulation of gold, thereby severely impacting our current account deficit. The disinvestment target of 57,000 crores would certainly help in reducing the government's borrowings, which in turn would ease the pressure on our banks to lower interest rates and create room for the private sector to borrow at sensible rates of interest. Sir, India is a unique and diverse country with history dotting every nook and corner of our land. Yet, our tourist arrivals are only a tenth that of China's. Tourism can potentially be a huge foreign exchange earner as well as a massive employment generator. The Honorable Finance Minister has wisely laid emphasis on this much neglected sector by providing 900 crores for tourism promotion apart from easing the visa regime. So all this means that Mr. Jaitley has taken care of both the demand as well as the supply side in order to kickstart the economy, which I am sure will lead to accelerated growth rate, job creation, and tackling the persistent high inflation. The Honorable Finance Minister has re-emphasized his commitment to the early introduction of GST, which can be an absolute game changer for our GDP. I hope that he will be able to bring the states on board very quickly and address their concerns and fears. Sir, he has also promised to examine in detail the direct tax code, which is long overdue. I would implore the Finance Minister to announce in his reply to this debate that it will certainly see the light of the day when he presents his next budget in February 2015. Sir, turning to my state of Punjab, which is the granary of India and has been giving strength to India by making the country self-reliant in food. In this process, our state has completely depleted our water reserves. And in years of drought even, you would recall that Punjab still continues to feed the nation. Sir, I would implore the Honorable Finance Minister that our canals need to be repaired, our canals need to be renovated, so kindly in one go sanction enough money so that we can take care of our canals. Also, in the presidential address, the government had said that the FCI would be reorganized. So we have claims of 10,000 crores against the FCI, which are long overdue. I would implore the Finance Minister that please appoint an arbitrator so that these claims can be fixed and taken care of expeditiously. Sir, you would also recall that the UPA government had said that the debt of Punjab, West Bengal and Kerala would be restructured. So far, nothing has been mentioned in the Honorable Finance Minister's speech, and I do hope that he will take care of this when he replies to the debate. Sir, the BJP is giving me 10 minutes from their time.
Carry on.
Sir, the welfare of the farmer is pivotal for our country, as 2/3 of India still lives on agriculture. We have to ensure that our farmer earns a decent living. He has been increasingly finding it difficult to cope with the inflation. Sir, the farmer of this country must get a fair price for his produce. I would say to the Finance Minister that we were all a little disappointed when the MSP was announced. MSP must be in line with the inflation rate of the country.
Oh my God.
And I do hope, no sir, they're giving me 10 minutes from their time.
Oh, I see. Okay, then no problem.
So I do hope that the government will reconsider the announcement on MSP. Sir, the Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi, has unveiled a new economic vision for India. As a result, once again, there is hope and expectation, especially amongst our youth. They are expecting good times to come back and the nation to see double-digit growth. This is no easy task unless the government fearlessly ushers in some structural changes which are long overdue. For the Honorable Finance Minister's consideration, I have 4 suggestions to make. Urgently make changes in the Land Acquisition Act. I had warned earlier also, when this law was being debated in this House, that while the new act must be farmer-friendly, it must not be anti-industry, which unfortunately it is. We need to make India a manufacturing hub and welcome new investment. Without easy availability of land at fair market prices, we cannot expect to achieve our growth rate targets as well as provide jobs to our millions. Second, boldly introduce labor reforms. Again, it does not mean that policies have to be anti-labor. China, despite being a communist country, has made its labor accountable. And since we are determined to make India a manufacturing powerhouse, it is imperative that we also introduce changes in our antiquated labor and factory laws. Third, we must invest heavily and urgently in the judicial infrastructure if we wish to eliminate corruption as well as maintain sanity in our society. We cannot afford to have lakhs of cases pending in courts for decades, as this is leading to criminalization of our society at every level. And last, we must create an environment where our wealth creators are respected and not looked down at. They are the ones who create millions of jobs that are so desperately required. Sir, your 10,000 crore fund for startups will create lakhs of jobs and hopefully a new generation of successful entrepreneurs and business leaders. This country must learn to celebrate them. Sir, the need of the hour is to think in an unconventional manner and welcome change. I end by quoting the great poet Iqbal, and for those of my friends who are not familiar with Urdu, it means to be afraid of new ideas and to be stuck in old ways is what creates difficulties in the lives of nations. And I quote, आईने नौ से डरना, तर्ज़े कोहन पे अड़ना, मंजिल यही कठिन है कौमों की जिंदगी में. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Very good. Thank you very much. Now, Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhi.